I said something like that about one of their kids, I would expect to get my head bust. And for good reason too, because you can't. I've been around you from young. Yeah. Right? So baby, like hospital, birth, christenings, birthdays, all the rest of it. So now for you to hit 16, and for me to then turn around and say, like, you can't go back from that. Like, you can't unsay it. It's not bants. It's not funny. Yeah. Like, that's a serious thing. You cannot look at someone's child and be like, oh yeah, look, she's turned into, well, not she's turned into a woman, but you know what I mean? You can't make her. Yeah. Nah. So the first thing I thought was, later. How? Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. You're through to another episode of At Your Big Age. I'm, of course, Dionne.
I'm Kieron.
And today we are joined by the family podcast. I welcome Sammy and Don.
Hello. Yeah, what's good?
Back to Love Lay Bear.
Yeah, been a minute. Trust me.
Do you know what? I was listening to the old episode the other day. So you guys came on just before COVID hit.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And we had a discussion about masculinity, and it kind of delved into, like, we ended up talking about a situation regarding do you remember
the trans issues?
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah,
that was a really good conversation, but I just couldn't believe it was so long ago.
No, it's true. I didn't think it was that far back either until you said, like, before lockdown. That's nice.
Congrats to us, we've been podcasting a long time. Let's go, round of applause, let's go. Yeah.
And I remember that day because, so these guys, you've obviously been around from the days when I would record in mum and dad's front room.
Yeah, that's right.
And I accidentally drew down my mum's nice drapey.
Mash up.
I remember that.
Literally mashed up the place. But it's good to have you back. And I feel like I've not even seen you guys in the flesh since then.
Yeah, probably haven't.
No. So anyway, so tell me how you guys have been getting on with the family podcast, because I know you guys are doing good things at the minute.
Yeah, we took a bit of a hiatus. Last year was like a really problematic year. So Don had an ankle fracture at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
And then I took time off towards the end of the year. So it wasn't as consistent as we liked. But when we came back, we realized that we really want to have conversations rooted around long-term relationships, family dynamics, and some self-improvement stuff in there as well, because obviously we can all find ways to improve. Yeah. So we kind of centered on that, and we've been going really hard in terms of delivering that message via the Instagram page and also on the YouTube as well. So it's just been working on that, trying to get the right people in to have conversations and trying to balance that as well as, family life. Yeah, exactly. And stuff. So, it's been good. It's been challenging at times, but I actually love podcasting. So it's just, it's a labor of love, I guess. Yeah.
So how has life changed for you guys since?
I got a son.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Nice. Different from the girl. Way different. Way different.
How old? How was he?
He's one. He's one. So now he's grabbing things.
Okay.
You know.
He's prince of the house.
Yeah. He doesn't really get that. Like, you can't slap people. It's just
spirited.
That is the right word. So, no, he's a wonderful addition to the family. But it is different.
Different.
Yeah.
Right, it's mad because for me, I just been on self-reflection like 90% of the time, because you can imagine I was in a hospital bed for like a decent amount of time.
Oh wow!
So it was so what happened? It was crazy. I was on my e-scooter. I just finished doing the episode of the podcast. I was going over a hill, and I didn't realize that my legs got stuck in the wheel of the e-scooter.
Okay.
So when I pulled off on the e-scooter, it dragged my leg. Yeah. So then obviously I lost my balance, put all my weight on one leg, and I couldn't hold it because of the speed that the scooter was going downhill. Literally land on the leg, just twist. Now, for me, because at the time I think adrenaline hit, I didn't really feel nothing. So I just tried to get back on the scooter, but then I saw the leg just hanging, and I was like, yeah, this is not possible. So the brothers because I fell in the road, 2 guys came to help me, put me on a chair. So I rang Sammy in it. But all this time, I'm just thinking, yeah, cool. Because my little brother came down from uni. We're planning to watch the late night UFC 3 o'clock in the morning. Everything was all good, innit? So I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to be able to get back to that, not realizing that I've got a severe triple fracture to my malleoli. So, which is like the ankle area. So I remember I dialed Sammy and I was like, yo, bro, I think I just broke my ankle. And he was like, what? Why are you on the phone?
But the way he said it, it's like, yeah, bro. I think I've broken my ankle.
Laughed it off. Like,
He's like,
April Fool's.
Yeah. He's like, but you just left. And I'm like, bro, why are you acting like this? I'm telling you, I broke my ankle, and you're acting like this is April Fool's or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, so in the end, he was like, yo, I'm going to come down. And then my little brother came down and they both saw me just sitting on it. They're like, yo. So I was like, listen, we're not going to tell mum. I'm going to go in to the hospital. They're going to fix it and I'm going to come out. Then when the ambulance came, I think it was like 3 hours late. Then they were just like, yo,
this is
you got
bad.
to tell mum. Yeah. Then I was in the hospital for days. They moved me from one hospital to another. So I've had a lot of time to think. Yeah, so just been thinking, reflecting, knowing what I'm on. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's been good.
Would you like to share one of your reflections with us?
Yeah, one of my reflections is just like spend more time with like the people you enjoy spending time with. For me, I had a long period of not being able to walk, and it wasn't really frustrating because I spent that time with my dad, and he had some medical stuff going on, so he was off of work and I was off of work, so we were just talking in it. And even then, it was like a vibe with my dad. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he's quite a quiet person, so I don't always get the time to spend time with him. I'm a bit more of a mummy's boy. So it was good to spend time with him and make me think, right, like I really appreciate my dad, innit? Like the morals that he has, the way that he sets out life. Even when he was there, he's like, yo, I need to get back to work, bro. Money I have to make, innit? And I was like, oh, that's where I get it from. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that would be my reflection. Spend time with the people that you love.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Good. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a topic that's a little bit, I guess, awkward in a sense, and I think I personally think it's a little bit of a difficult conversation, just in terms of, you know, understanding the dynamics between friends, boundaries, what is allowed, what absolutely shouldn't be allowed, and what shouldn't happen. But I'll put the Reddit post up on the screen. So in this post, a wife has written in to basically explain that they were hosting a Sweet 16 for her daughter. And kind of long story short, she overheard her husband's best friend, who has obviously been his friend for a long time. He's babysat her children, commenting on her 16-year-old's body, you know, made some rather lewd remarks. With that, she, you know, had a go at him, spoke to her husband, you know, demanded that he got out of the house. Her husband's response was a bit laissez-faire, like, oh no, you know, don't think he would have done that. Then the husband left, went to the friend's house and stayed there for the night. Now, we can deal with that extra bit a little bit later in terms of him going to the friend's house and staying there for the evening. But the thing of, you know, adult males inappropriately looking, being suggestive towards, or even going as far as taking a step too far in terms of physical contact is very, 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 very common. So I just kind of wanted to open up the conversation. Like, when you guys read that, what were your kind of like immediate first thoughts?
Yo, you want to start or you want me to start?
I said later. Because the from you've said something from the first lewd comment that's come out, you've already done too much. So there's we can't go back now, right? So if we're friends, all right, let me frame it. I've got friends that I am their daughter's godfather. right? So we've been friends for decades now. If I said something like that about one of their kids, I would expect to get my head bust. And for good reason too, because you can't. I've been around you from young. Yeah. Right? So baby, like hospital, birth, christenings, birthdays, all the rest of it. So now for you to hit 16, and for me to then turn around and say, like, you can't go back from that. Like, you can't unsay it. It's not bants. It's not funny. Yeah. Like, that's a serious thing. You cannot look at someone's child and be like, oh yeah, look, she's turned into, well, not she's turned into a woman, but you know what I mean? You can't make her. Yeah. Nah. So the first thing I thought was, later. How?
Yeah.
And do you know what the mad thing? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's damaged the relationship.
Yeah, you've broken it.
Yeah.
Do you know the maddest thing about it, when I read it, it's like, there was no ambiguity on what he said.
None.
You know what I'm saying? He went straight for 100%. Do you know what I'm saying? So you know, like, some people would be like, oh, you've grown, and then that's it. Right? And potentially you could insinuate, and you could be like, even that comment was a bit left, but you don't know. You're willing to let the person elaborate. Yeah. His one was mad. Man said if anybody hits that girl, it sleeps with that 16-year-old,
it's a blessing.
They're like a god. Yeah. That's mad.
They're doing the work of God.
Yeah. So how do you de-escalate? There's no de-escalation. No. Do you know what I'm saying? You went straight from 100. You see, like when the mic starts peaking on the red, that's what he's on.
Like he gets locked off.
Yeah.
Everybody's going on.
And also, it's the constant thing as well, because that's your daughter.
Yeah.
So you would never feel safe with that brother around. No. How can you?
Yeah, and because your kids are supposed to be my kids.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is how I run. So even if I'm there and someone says that about my brethren's daughters, I'm putting hands on you because they're my kids. So why would you? So you can't. You know what I mean? That's.
No go.
Nah, you can't. There's no.
Nah. The thing is, I kind of again want to impress, I guess, upon the listeners as well, is that this is something that is very common.
It happens all the time.
All the time, and it's like when you have this conversation with men, this is their response, right? But it's very few and far between women and girls that have not had that experience.
The weird uncle.
With the weird uncle or the weird friend or the weird neighbour or, you know, something to that effect. Where it could be an older cousin, could even be a brother. Do you know what I mean? It happens a lot. And I think for a lot of women, it's kind of a case of what is the psyche behind the male mind? Because again, like I say, this is a very common occurrence. This isn't something that's, you know, a rarity as much as I think a lot of people would like to think it is. So thinking back to when I was a teenager, and it was very much kind of like you would go for the older boy, wouldn't you? Because it just...
But that's the norm. That's like a normal thing.
Because it's the norm. But you know, like now looking back in hindsight, I'm a bit like, because I remember when I was 15, I started to date a guy who was 19.
Mad.
Yeah. But I kind of felt like he may as well have been the same age as me, if that makes sense. Right. But he was now in a position where he was about to get an apprenticeship with like a construction company. And I remember him showing me his letter of employment. Yeah. And he was getting 12.5 grand. And I was like, oh my God, 12.5 grand. And, you know, in essence, he treated me very well. He was very respectful. You know, he didn't force me into sex or anything like that, which was really good. But I know a lot of people didn't have that same experience as I did. But even then, looking back on it, I'm like, you shouldn't have even been talking to me.
Shouldn't have been.
Do you know what I mean? And so when I turned 16, it was almost like it was a little bit more acceptable. So, you know, I met his mum. I remember I went round to his grandma's, I think it was like Boxing Day, maybe, for dinner.
You did Christmas.
Yeah, do you get what I'm saying? And I'm like, and I remember my dad being like, not really happy about it, but...
You didn't care?
Yeah, can I ask you, do you think that there's anything that your parents could have said to you that would make you...
Not.
like end the relationship?
What I probably would have done is just done it behind their backs.
See,
It would have made it exciting then.
Yeah, do you get what I'm saying? I
telling me not to do
probably
nothing.
would have just done it behind their backs. I mean, the thing is, like, if I was going to his house or something like that, obviously I'm not saying, by the way, I'm going to the Dur's house. Do you get what I'm saying? So, obviously, I knew that there was a level of, this isn't appropriate. I think my mum was probably a little bit more okay with it, because I think also I was quite a mature 16-year-old in that sense. However, still, in hindsight, there is no way that I would have allowed that with my daughter anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no way.
No, but it's mad because there's going to be guys that are my age that watch this that were blatantly those guys that were outside the school gates.
Yeah.
Standardly.
Yeah.
And they'll probably, there was nothing
They'll
wrong.
be there in 2 days.
Yeah.
They'll say, there was, this is just how it was.
Yeah.
They don't see anything wrong with it.
Even we thought it was wild. When I was in school and one of my friends told me she was dating some brother who was in
College or something.
first year uni or something.
wow.
Oh, wow.
Yo, that's wild.
And I was like, wait, what? I was like, first of all, my guy, you're taking all the fishes out of the water.
That was it.
Go for someone your own age.
Yeah, I was like, bro, like, what? You can't get girl
But
in uni.
a lot of the girls used to say, I like older guys.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
You
more
lot are
mature.
you lot are so immature.
and that,
You're not even driving.
Yeah. Them ones.
I
And
mean,
that car, if you had a Golf GTI, you would fly.
Yeah.
Or a Renault.
Yeah.
Them things are better than Oyster, innit?
Yeah,
So,
of course.
Renault.
But them times it was like 40p. We didn't know we was in the golden age.
Yeah, it's
You know
true.
what I'm saying? We
Wild.
had no idea.
Yeah, it's gonna be guys that blatantly watch this and would blatantly those guys, and then they'll have kids, and their kids will probably end up doing the same thing. It's learned behavior, a lot of it as well. Like if you didn't do it, chances are, hopefully, your kids won't do it.
But us men hate it. We hate it when our children recount our lives. You know, like,
Yeah.
especially with our daughters. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the thing that I've always, I don't know how I got it in my head so early. But I always thought to myself, yo, if this was my daughter, would I be happy with the way that I'm treating them, or like seeing like my friends? Yeah, because like I used to play ball and I used to play basketball. So then obviously you get their brothers who play basketball. Do you know what I'm saying? Very well known. Like, and I think to myself, I don't know, you know, whether I'd be happy with my daughter doing all this madness, you know, like even when my friend was like, oh, she's dating someone in first year uni, I was thinking to myself,
but that's why I asked the question,
yeah, man.
if your parents had an embargo on it, would it change your behavior? Because a lot of us, especially guys who are dads, we have this thing where like, it's impossible. There's no way.
Yeah.
But then you listen to so many women talk about
Their experience.
their experiences. Yeah, I dated a guy who was like 5 years older than me. Yeah, I dated a guy who was like 4 years older than me. And it's like,
It might
I'm
be
sure that
inevitable.
either their fathers may have had an issue with it or were in the dark, but what kind of things could they have done? Unless you say like, that's it, and you don't go out and I pick you up from school. And these type of things, it's really difficult to have I think the only thing is like, having the conversation early.
I was about to say it starts early.
Yeah,
It starts
because
early.
it's that kind of like prepare the child for the road and not the road for the child sort of thing.
Because I think a lot of young people, like, my understanding of grooming at that age was, you know, a man trying to get you into a car with sweets and all that. You know, like when you have that conversation when you're like under 10, it doesn't really progress
Yeah, it doesn't.
much from
Yeah.
that. So if you're then meeting somebody who is, you know, they're a bit maturer and, you know, they're different to the boys your age, you're only seeing that as a kind of a step up as opposed to you're being groomed. And that's the conversation that we need to have with our boys and our girls, because you know, in one breath, there's so much conversation around girls learning to protect themselves, but at the same time, like I always say, why are we not having conversations with our boys to say,
Don't do it.
Don't do it, yeah.
when you get to a certain age, you can't be trying to talk to girls who are under this age, and yada, yada, and also parents entertaining it, essentially, because as much as my dad didn't like it, you kind of entertain Take
You kind of had it at the same time. You didn't like it.
Because like when you were saying, oh, you went to his grandma's place, and I'm like, so nobody...
Yeah, no one was like, yo,
nobody said...
Who's this?
Yeah, who's this
young
girl that you're bringing?
who's this little girl in my house?
Yeah, I mean... Because I feel like I would be the person to say it, innit? I'm not a naturally confrontational person.
You'd ask the question.
But I would be like, yo...
Oh, you?
Yeah.
I remember his best friend.
Wow, the chuckle.
I remember his best friend would take the piss, and he made up this little riddle like some child molester.
Imagine.
Like he would say that directly to him, kind of thing.
Mad.
Yeah.
And obviously, me not really understanding.
Yeah.
It was
I was
like,
thinking
everyone's
you're
just laughing.
I was thinking you're a hater.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're a hater. Actually, I don't even like you. But he wasn't wrong. Do you get what I'm saying? And again, this is why conversations need to be had so people can, kids can understand. Because again, at 16, you think you know everything. You think you're big.
Yeah.
You think whatever. But I'm now in my early 40s. I can now look back and say that in my early 20s, I didn't know shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
You
it's
know what I
like,
mean?
one of the things, like if you try and disarm somebody, sometimes they don't understand that they're being disarmed. So if you say to like a young girl, like, listen, like, there's no pressure on you, to do anything that you don't necessarily understand that he's not saying that to make you
Feel comfortable.
Yeah, to give you... No, sorry. He's not saying that to respect your autonomy. He's saying that to make you comfortable so that...
You let your
later
guard
down the
You
line...
let your guard down.
Yeah, exactly. You feel so comfortable that you think that when you say, oh, I'm ready now, you think you've made that decision when you haven't. And I think as a young person, if you're not given the tools and the skills...
To understand that.
To understand that kind of level of manipulation...
Yeah.
You're always going to feel like you were in the driving seat for a lot of the interactions that you had within that relationship. But then when you sit down and you untangle it, you see that you've been led along for a long time.
Yeah.
Like
that's where I think it's so insidious, you know?
Well, that's why I feel like, with me, I'm going to teach my children how to say no. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, a considerable amount of times.
Yeah.
Because, there's this default position. I remember we used to talk about it, like when you used to go to that auntie's house and it's like, hi, so someone gives you a drink the first time, you can decline it. That's respectful. And then, like, if you really want it, when they come back around, you could be like, yeah, I want that in it. But that mentality just breeds exactly what we're talking about. Because you want it in your head, but you're just delaying the inevitable. But see, when you say no, 3-4 times, you are confirming something. Do you know what I'm saying? Especially over a long period of time. And I'll say to my children, all right, cool. Say no to the person the first time, let it progress, and if you really feel like that, keep saying no and watch how the behavior changes. That's what we need to be teaching people. Watch how the behavior changes, because it stops from now being comfortable to now you're an inconvenience to them. Because they've been waiting time. They were waiting. Yeah, they're waiting for the opening, but you ain't giving them the opening.
No
so
opening.
keep saying no, and let's see what happens. If the person treats you comfortably, might be a keeper. Might actually, obviously, if it's like 10 years difference, there's no keeping, none. But and then see how it progresses, because that's what happens. The first no is a guideline. First no is like, okay, the amount of brothers that I've seen, they'll move to a girl, they'll be like, she's saying no now. You know what I'm saying? Let me work. I even had one of my friends, I'm not gonna bait him out, weird, not my kind of energy, but he's like, yeah, I thrive in the friend zone.
Yeah.
That's my favorite place. You know what I'm saying? See? I was like, yo, that's mad. I was like,
The thing is, you know people do it, but...
Yo, tell me who said that after,
Yeah. You're never going to be surprised.
Don't tell us now.
You're never going to be surprised. Like, ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like these things, like I feel like we have to guard the young people growing up to be assertive, but for that assertiveness to have longevity.
Yeah, and this is where Dionne's point about having the conversations with our young men as well, because a lot of women can advocate, but then that puts them in a precarious position if this person is not used to hearing no's.
Yes.
Then it gets in a situation where they could be in a lot of trouble just for advocating their boundaries.
Yeah.
So I think we do need to have the conversation that women are allowed to say no to you, and you have to
You have to hold the note.
You have to hold the
yeah,
note.
yeah,
Yeah, you have
hold
to
the
take
note.
it. So,
hold it, man.
you know, because I know a lot of guys who...
Well, we all been there.
You know.
Growing up in school, yo, that girl's lang. Let me chat to her. Yo, sweet, what you saying? My size. What you saying? What, bruv? What, you not even that nice, innit? Me? And you're like, imagine that in a setting where it's just one and two people. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we used to see like it kind of insinuated in movies like Kidulthood and all the rest of it. And people used to think this was just normal behavior. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, well, you're not gonna do it today. All right, come up, man's yard. Do you know? Shout me when you're ready, innit? Like that's passive aggressive, bro. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
and then it can make that person feel like they've done something wrong.
Yeah, and then they go and speak to their other friends who are a bit more experienced. You know what I'm saying? You know, people like to chat, and it's like, oh, yeah, I was speaking to him, and they're like, no, babes, just do it. Watch, it's gonna get better.
And
that's how older guys are.
Yeah, and that's why it's really important to have like an open relationship with your parents. Yeah,
Yes.
Because if you don't have a avenue to talk to big people about those kind of things, you're gonna go to your friends, and your friends are the same age as you.
Exactly.
Terrible advice.
Yeah, they're just gonna give you rubbish advice. So it's really important as a parent. I know we have this thing of like we're strict, we're the disciplinarian, but if your children cannot talk to you, they're just gonna talk to other people. We're just gonna give them bad advice.
And you know what? The other side of it is as well. Some of the kids need to understand what is. There's a line between an adult being friendly, because it might be a teacher, it might be whoever, or that's their nature, and then the line being blurred into something different. Yeah. Sometimes it's especially growing up when you're young, it's hard if you don't have adults paying attention to you because they're busy, your parents are busy, whatever. The first time an adult pays actual attention to you, it can either be a life-changing experience because now, cool, someone's listening to me, or it can turn into something else where you're now being maneuvered into certain situations where that friendliness was just a guise for them to get into, do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's about knowing the difference between the two, or spotting the difference between the two.
Definitely.
I think it's hard for young women because, you know, like, you're young, innit? You don't really understand your emotions, innit? And I suppose you go through the natural progression of life is that you would spend time with people who are older than you. Do you know what I'm saying? So you spend majority of time with your family and your family friends, and the most time you spend with someone who's your age, from the age of about maybe 2 to maybe 8, is when you go to school. So you feel like you're a big person before you're actually a big person. If we're looking at the psychology of things, you know, you learn to romanticize like the engagement between maybe your uncle or something like that, because he's always giving you hugs and saying, oh, you're right. That's your first like sense of affection. Do you know what I'm saying? So you really need somebody to explain to you that this is your uncle. You know what I'm saying? This is your uncle, and he's hugging you because he cares about you. And he knows that it gives you that sense of security, not because he's trying to get in your pants. Do you know what I'm saying?
Also, that if your uncle does this and that's
it's a red flag.
That's blurring the line.
It's crossed the line.
I'm quite. I think I've said it before anyway, but I'm quite. You know, from when my daughter was like 2, I started to talk to her about boundaries, where people can and cannot touch. She very much knows that she does not have to hug anybody, and it can be her grandma, it can be her granddad, it can be anybody. If she doesn't even want to hug me, that's absolutely fine. Because again, I don't want to teach her that just because someone else feels away, you then have to kind of give in when it's something that you kind of don't want to do, if that makes sense. I think it's just important that, you know, you have these conversations with your children very early, so then it becomes the norm. Like I had a very awkward situation once with my uncle, and he's very much like a kids person, whatever else, you know, does football training, all this kind of stuff. So he loves kids and whatever. And he was trying to do the whole rough and tumble thing with her. But because of his kind of appearance, like he's got dreads, a big bushy beard, it's not really, at the time, she was a little bit, a bit taken aback. And, you know, she said no. And he still continued. So she's looking at me. So I've now stepped in and I've said, she said no. but at the end of the day, I'm just playing with her. I said, yeah, but she doesn't want
Don't wanna
to.
play. Yeah.
And he then got offended, yeah, and still tried to go in again. So now at this point, like you're at that very thin point of respect, and you're actually pissing me off now. Because it's like now my daughter's looking at me, and I can almost see behind her eyes like, I've done what you've told me to do.
And it's not working.
It's not working.
What do I do now?
And you're here, and you still can't even really make it stop, if that makes sense. Until I really had to kind of put my foot down and be like, this stops now kind of thing. And then he went and complained to my dad, there's too much rules in this house and blah, blah.
Do you think, that would have been different, if, like, your daughter's father stepped in?
Yes.
100%.
100%.
I remember watching this clip of this guy who was like a predator, and he said something along the lines of, I always look for the ones with dads involved because I know I can't go there. But if the dad's not involved, those are the kids I kind of look for.
Because you can step in and play that role.
Yeah, you see it. And so like, it's a shame that like people don't respect mums enough to just say, okay, this woman has said what I'm doing with the kid is.
Let me just leave it.
Yeah, let me just leave it there. It has to be dad who steps in and says, didn't you hear what she said? I back off. So.
And do you know what's mad, I find that as a young teen, if your dad's not there and you're male, you kind of go to fulfill that role. But the problem with that is that, number one, you're probably not fast enough and strong enough. But even if you are, it gives you a skewed sense of like who you are. Do you know what I'm saying? Because now you're playing daddy, but you're a young
small
adult
boy,
growing up in it. So I think there's a lot of kind of like smaller discussions that open up this kind of big discussion around, how people feel about young children. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and whether we protect them and where they get their psychology and their understanding from, and how important it is for us to kind of jump in early and have these conversations. Because when we're looking at the trajectory, remember, we started with the history innit, of this happening in loads of different countries with different people. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white. Like, this has been happening since the age of time. So if you leave it, this is just normal behavior.
It's normal behavior.
Yeah. We think it's weird.
Yeah, but
we are the weird ones.
Yeah, because
technically,
it's normal.
If you go to the majority of people, they're like, people been marrying young things from. If you ask my mum, she's gonna tell you people been marrying young things from the jump. It's wild. And like, we're the kind of new school who are like, nah, this don't really make sense. Why are you watching a girl in school uniform? To them, they're like, we always been doing this.
Yeah.
Like we've been doing this before we knew.
And they come up with excuses like she's gonna turn into a woman.
Yeah.
You're like, well, she's gonna turn into a woman. So you openly admit, is she a woman yet? What, bro?
Yeah, we don't do that. The thing is, we don't do that for anything. We don't say, this guy is going to be a bus driver, so I'm gonna let him drive the bus.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We never do that. But suddenly, when it's this thing, it's like, she's gonna become a woman, so it's cool to engage with her.
She's almost legal. She's almost legal.
Almost legal. Yeah, that one's wild. Everyone touched it. It's crazy. It's mad. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Even in the scenario, that brother's getting rubbed out.
This is why, to be fair, I'm uncomfortable around people's kids that I don't know. Sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
Like, because kids will, if I'm sat somewhere and there's a toddler, kids will always find their way to me for some reason. Like, they'll always or bring me a toy or come and just. And then I'm sat there like, I don't know whose kid this is. You're somewhere at Christian and it's your friends, cousins, partners, and it's like, so I'm like, I don't want to be rude to the kid, but at the same time, I don't want it to.
I don't want
to be too friendly. I don't want it to turn into a thing. So you kind of find yourself like stuck between here and here, and you're like, it's a bit awkward. You know what I mean? So to keep people's kids scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, me too. You know.
They really do. They do.
But you just don't know what to.
Yeah, you don't know what to do. Because my intentions are pure.
Yeah.
But to someone else, it could. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
the optics.
The optics look a bit
like, even if you say, "Oh, hello," and then a mum comes out like, why are you talking to my kid?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just being friendly. Don't be friendly with my kid, be friendly with your own kids. You know, and then you're in a situation, so it's better to just like...
And children are pleasure seekers. Like, whether people understand it or not, children are pleasure seekers. The reason why... You ever seen a child, who's about to get hit and they start crying and you ain't ever hit them?
Yeah.
It's just a reaction. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, even, like, as mad as things are, like, children who, like, rub themselves on the floor, it's a pleasure-seeking thing. It's mad to say it, but they're young children. They got no idea. They do what feels good, because it feels good. And they don't do what feels good. You know, like when your mom said, don't touch the oven, don't touch the oven, don't touch the oven. Then the child, as soon as they get the moment to touch, because they're intrigued, they touch the oven. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Because
that's where parents have to advocate for their children.
So now we understand how important it is when you don't advocate, because like you're leaving all of these things all wide open. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a child is just doing what children do.
What children do.
Yeah. Like they just do what feels good. That's why everyone says, like you should be more like a child, innit? Because they just go through life, with rose tinted glasses.
Oblivious to everything. Like, everything's fine.
Everything's all good.
Everything's fine.
And the thing is, and you know, ideally they should be able to live in a world where it is all good.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's not the case. But you know, like even to add on to that, like, you know, you guys as men saying you're a little bit thingy when it comes to other people's kids, but you know, at the same time, there's even another conversation to be had about, you know, women who are perpetrators, and that conversation is even something in itself, because there's a lot of men who are walking around with a lot of wounds, and sometimes I wonder, is it as common?
What, for women to take advantage of, for older women to take advantage of younger men?
Older women, older girls, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That was standard too. I know I got a good couple of friends that, but yeah, they were like 14 and the woman was considerably older.
Yeah,
but it was the norm.
Lil Wayne said he was raped, innit?
Yeah, but
he said he loved it.
Yeah, it was the norm.
Yeah, it's considered a badge of honor.
Because it's not, it doesn't work the other, like you've got to be really in tune with yourself and what's going on for you as a man to turn around and say that a woman took advantage of you when you were 14 or 15. Like, not a lot of men are going to say that.
Right, so yeah, I feel like with the number of men that I've come across over the years, whether it's talking off camera or just in general conversation, the behaviours that they exhibit towards women and around relationships are not healthy, but it's like they don't understand that this has come from the root of it.
From where for how it started for you.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, of course.
I know a dude that had his first sexual encounter with a teacher.
What?
And he was like 13 or 14, 15. And he'll laugh about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, but... And in my mind, I'm like, my son at 13, 14, 15, someone's got to go.
Someone.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I remember
it's weird because it's like some kids see it as a badge of honor, and some adult males will be like, what are you complaining about?
Yeah.
I wish my teachers did that.
Yeah.
Do you feel what I'm saying? And so there's like a really interesting
Conversation.
dichotomy between how, because if you flip it, and people like to say it all the time, like men and women, like we're not the same, innit? So you can't flip it for a woman and then it's different.
Not to cut you, but it's almost like it's a masculine thing for you to say, go on, instead of saying...
I know brothers 16 to 21 who were sleeping with people's mums.
Wild.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but for me, do you know what's crazy? Like,
Wild.
As a young man, innit, I was always like attracted to
older women.
Like that.
It's the norm.
Do you know what? Do you know who was speaking about it recently? Rapalowski is now in prison, isn't it? Yeah. So he was saying that he was talking about like his upbringing, how he was such a mad, crazy kid, and he was saying, "Yo, you know, it's mad because my mum was 30. Yeah, when I was getting police knocking at the door, she shouldn't be dealing with this." He was like, you know, she should be out partying, having fun. He was like, you know, I get 30-year-old girl. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, what's it say? Say that again? He's like, yeah, I get 30-year-old girl. They're out partying and doing their thing. They're not out here mothering. Like, you don't have to be worried about your 16-year-old son getting knocked at the door. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking to myself, rah, so you are openly acknowledging, that maybe 15, 16, that your mum shouldn't have been living that life, but you're sleeping with 30-year-olds, you know, and like you got no problem saying that on camera.
You get big points.
But to me, without being so judgmental, I understand why you end up in pen. Without sounding rude, I do, because like basically what you're saying, is that from the age of 15, to 30, you didn't see the discrepancy between the two. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like,
what you do.
You're out as a rich brother partying, because he's pretty much like a teen star, innit? By the time he's a teen, innit? Yeah. So he's getting money. Like, I remember when I was like maybe like 15, I started dancing, innit? So I could get into any club. I just go to the dance community. They give you a wristband because you performed. Get into the club. When people see you with that wristband, they ain't asking you for no evidence, for no drink, no nothing. You are just living life. You're supposed to be here. So imagine, if you're a child star, you're coming in with your bussy chain, you're that rap star. Yeah, there are 30-year-old women who are like, raw money. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, so for him, to me, when you hit 30, that's the enlightening age. That's when you talk about your mortgages and your, do you know what I'm saying? Your tax, how much taxes are coming, interior decoration, B&Q. But he doesn't see that. He sees a 30-year-old as a party animal.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So the boundaries for him were skewed from day one.
But it is also, some people take longer to mature than others. Yeah, and I think sometimes that skews their dating preferences. So one of the things I was saying, I remember a lot of people talk about Leonardo DiCaprio and how he dates significantly younger. Yeah. And I was saying, I think part of that is the fact that he wants to go out and party and do things like a young person.
But you're not young.
Yeah, so you're not young, but you live vicariously through the people that you date.
That's a thing, That is a thing. Yeah. That is a thing still.
I'm scared of that, because I live with my younger brother, innit? So there's 10 years difference between me and him, 13 years difference between Sammy and him. And obviously, he always wants to be around his brother. Like, he doesn't say it all the time, innit? But you can tell, like, he feels comfortable because we're blood. We've known each other since day dot. Yeah. But the problem is, for me, I always want to know the setting. Because I'm not trying to be around 20-year-olds. Yeah. Now, even if we go out, I'm stepping out to try and get to a bar. I don't mind a boat party, but I want to know the ages. I'm not going to be in a boat party with 18 to 21 years.
Do you know what I'm saying? It looks sus.
It's very sus. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't care whether I look youthful or not. Think, bro, what am I doing on a boat with 18 to 21-year-olds? 100%. It doesn't make no sense. 100%. But I also want to support my brother as well, like make him out there, like be able to go to different places. So I'm always like, then sometimes I got to be like, bro, I love you, but I can't go to this place. It don't make no sense for me.
Yeah. I got very comfortable with that. Like, I live at home in my slippers with my family. Yeah. And so if I step out somewhere, it's usually family gatherings. No problem. But otherwise, I tend not to go out.
But you don't live with us. Imagine if you lived with us and you had no kid.
Yeah, that would have been wild.
It would have been wild because you would want to step out because you want to be social. Because remember, also, as you get older, your social circle smallens. Yeah. So if you've got someone who's young, and they're taking you out to places, your social circle is opening up.
Yeah.
But you got to make sure it's not opening up to some weird age range that you're not even in tune with. Do you know what I'm saying?
Like some weird sugar daddy.
Yeah. Imagine you're 40 years old and your social group is opening up to 20-year-olds.
When I was at uni, there was like these older guys who would like just open up their homes to the girls.
That's what.
To the uni girls. Like, I'm going.
I got a party house.
Yeah. Your face. So we used to like it because we were young students, innit? We would go there, we'd party, big houses, nice, like pools and that. But when you sit and you think about outside of like your experience,
it's weird, baby.
You're like, yo, this 55-year-old man.
Oh, 55?
Yeah. Like,
no, I was thinking, maybe he's in his 20s.
No, because we were in our 20s. We were at uni.
He would have been 40.
No, but I thought like maybe he was like a mature 25-year-old student.
With a house and a pool.
Oh, I didn't hear the pool. Okay.
You didn't listen to the settings.
Yeah. So
it's crazy, isn't it?
I'm not. No.
Yeah.
I'm 43 in December.
Yeah.
Right. The amount of DMs I get on Twitter from girls that are considerably younger than me, right? I'm talking 20, 21, 19, I think was the young. 18 might have been the youngest.
Yeah, 18 is my youngest too.
And when I'm saying to them like, how old are you? And they say that age, I'm like, yo, I'm
Too old.
I'm way too old for you, girl. No, you're
your
not.
dad.
No, you're not. I said, no, I definitely am.
Yeah.
I said, oh, well, how old are you? 43. Yeah, that don't matter. What do you mean?
What do you mean? Yeah.
I'm 43 and I was born in 1980. Yeah? We could list things that weren't around when I was born.
Trust me.
Right? You are 18 years old. I didn't even want to do the math for when you were born.
It's true.
But you are. We have nothing in common.
But you see the change in culture. The change in culture, yeah, was previously as guys, innit? That's what we used to perceive. Change in culture now, yeah, everybody just become brazen.
Yeah.
So females don't.
But you know what it is as well. You know what it is now, and I say this all the time. When we were, especially when I was growing up, we couldn't mix with people that were older than us like this. You would be in a room with people and you would keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Because you are young.
Yeah.
So shut your mouth. 18, if I was 18 and I'm in a room with 40-year-olds,
Can't speak.
no one is talking to me.
We're speaking to each other like
Whispering. Whispering. Or you're outside or you're in another room.
Yeah.
The internet has made the world this big.
It's true.
So everybody is vying in this one little space.
Yeah.
So you as an 18, 19, 20-year-old girl, have the opportunity to be talking to people that are infinitely more mature than you and about 20 to 25 years older than you.
And do you know what's mad, yeah? The confidence that them people are coming with for you, that means they've done it before.
They've done it
and
before,
had success.
and they've got through.
Yeah, had success. Yeah.
And they've got through.
Yeah.
And they've got through.
There's no way you're approaching, a 40-year-old brother as a 20-year-old, saying it does not matter and you've never done it before.
You've done it before.
Yeah.
They scare me.
And had success, yeah.
They scare me. Not me.
Wrong
No.
one, yeah.
No, not me, mate. Not me. Scared. Yeah. And the thing is as well, because I don't have an issue with getting older. So I don't need to have someone younger than me in order for me to feel good about myself as I get older. This is you're born. Every single minute of every single day you get older. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm not dyeing my hair. I'm not. Do you know what I mean? I'm not. This is me, and I'm gonna get older. There's people that never even made it to this point.
Yeah, that's fact.
So
That
I grew up with, and they're not here anymore. So for me, I'm not entertaining anybody. I'm not giving you any signals that I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm not entertaining it when you come with it to me. I'm not, none of it. I couldn't think of anything worse than being that guy that just has a trail of young girls
That's what
following around because you look sad.
Yeah.
If we're keeping it real,
Yeah,
like
well,
aside from the grooming side of it, like you see a guy, you look at him and think, you're clearly like 50s. Even Puffy.
Yeah.
I think Puff's the guy. But when I see him with these young girls, I'm like,
bro, don't your back hurt? Like,
bruv,
what
your peers must look at this and say, this is wild. I don't want my peers to look at me and be like, yo, Fish, what's going on with this? She could be your daughter.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's mad.
It gets even more techie when you start bringing them to the family arrangements and then you see your young niece walking around and they're looking all similar in age. And
But do you know what? That's funny you even say that because even growing up, because my niece is 30 now. So I would always gauge the lowest I would go
based
on
on
the
that
age of my niece when she got into college and stuff. So I would be like, well, I can't come home with someone.
You're the same age as
And they're the same age, so they know each
Oh,
other.
they're brethren.
Imagine.
No way. So even now, like the lowest I'm going is like 30 plus.
Yeah.
Because you can't, I've got a nephew, or you and my nephew might have done something, or
imagine that.
Nephew's brethren or something.
Nah, man, we can't do that. We can't do that.
All right,
Imagine
guys.
that nephew like, nephew's like, yo, unks, I need to tell you
I need to
something
tell you
about
something.
that one. No, come on, man.
Imagine your nephew like, yo, I'm feeling your thing, you know.
Yeah, mad, it's mad,
She's
it's
lit.
mad. You can't.
This is wild.
It's mad.
Yeah, that's
Can't do it.
That'd be a bit of an awkward
A bit awkward. A bit awkward. That's some American awkward. That'll be a next Reddit post. That's nasty. No.
All right, we're gonna wind the conversation down. So, any kind of final thoughts? I mean, like the conversation grew some legs, and we spoke about like a range of different things. But any kind of final thoughts from you guys?
Be careful who you have around your children, and who you choose to be like second in command almost. So whoever you choose to be godparents, whoever you choose to call an uncle when you're not really related to them, an auntie, those kind of things. Be very mindful of what adults they spend a load of time with.
Yeah.
And I would say have conversations with your children. Allow them to express their boundaries and get used to expressing their boundaries, so that they have some level of confidence going into these type of interactions.
I would say have people around you who are going to be accountable and hold you accountable. So that, for example, us lot in a room, we know the deal. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that awkward behavior, someone's going to G-check it, innit? And that's healthy. Do you know what I'm saying? Because, as we said, the psychology of things doesn't add up to what we're saying, you know, and the way that we feel. So.
Yeah. And I think I'll just end by saying, you know, protect your boys as much as you protect your girls. And, you know, have these conversations with both your boy and girl children, especially as they're approaching their teenage years. I just want to say a big thank you to Sam and Donnie for coming.
Yeah, man.
No, respect for having us.
Back on. It's been a minute, and I'm gonna have you guys back on again soon.
No worries.
It's been a good conversation. But guys, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, drop your comments in the box, and we'll be back to see you again soon. So
Peace.
It's a wrap.
Ladies.
Let's go.
Lovely. Okay, I want